having discharged their lawmaking mandate, Your Excellency, as the head of state and government, is most graciously invited to exercise your presidential prerogative as vested in you, Article 115 of the Constitution, to assent to this legislation. Your Excellency, sir, permit me to now invite the Clerk of the National Assembly to convey the vellum copies of the bill for Your Excellency's presidential assent.
So bring that petition and let us subsume it into the bill that's on the floor of the Senate. There's room to amend it after
Your Excellency,
what is going on. That then
these vellum copies have the consent of the Speaker of the House of Parliament to present these vellum copies before you for your assent.
You cannot go
this bill, Your Excellency, is the first bill to anchor the resolution of the Houses of Parliament with respect to the NADCO report. You recall, Your Excellency, the NADCO report was authored by a committee which was led by the former Vice President, Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka, and the leader of the majority party in the National Assembly, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. The Houses of Parliament adopted the report, all of them, and thereafter the attendant bills were published, the first one being the IEBC Amendment Bill, which was initially introduced and passed by in the National Assembly in the month of May, sent to the Senate, and the Senate also passed it on 11th of June with amendments, and the amendments passed by the Senate were approved by the National Assembly on the 20th of June. Your Excellency, this bill gives a roadmap to the formation of the IEBC. It commences with the IEBC selection panel, which will now comprise of 9 persons who are to be nominated in a competitive and transparent process by certain bodies, first of them being the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is required to nominate 2 persons. The political parties, the liaison committee is required also to nominate 3 persons. The Law Society of Kenya, 1 person. There's 1 person to be nominated by the ICPAC, and 2 persons to be nominated by the Interreligious Council. The bodies which are nominating more than 2 persons, Your Excellency, are required to also observe the 2-thirds gender rule so as to ensure that the completeness of the panel observes the 2-thirds gender rule as required under our Constitution. The bill, Your Excellency, also amends certain provisions relating to the term of the Secretary to the Commission, giving the Secretary a term of 4 years renewable once. Your Excellency, the bill also amends certain provisions relating to facilitation of IEBC with respect to this role on
Can I please piggyback on that question on maternal-child health? Bwana Omtata, are you able to explain to the listeners
Article 135 of the Constitution requires every presidential action
I would like to just piggyback on the discussion on maternal-child health. Thank you.
Permit me now to invite you to affix the public seal of the Republic or the statute.
Kenya lady, can you go on mute, please?
That they don't have the vaccines. That's what we are told when we called the various government officials. And they came out with things like procurement, things like allocation of resources, and stuff like that. But then it's just a question of having our priorities wrong. And it's not something that should be allowed to happen at all, because we are losing a whole generation, and the diseases that have already been wiped out in this country are going to re-emerge, because we are surrounded by countries where some of these diseases are prevalent. And when a child is not vaccinated within a certain period of time, then the opportunity is lost. So the resolution of Parliament was that the ministry moves with speed and acquires this product. Now, the problem we have with this country is one. Those who are old enough like me, and maybe slightly younger, would remember that we lived at a time when government stores were branded. If it's Panadol from the government, the initials GK. If it is syrup, the bottle would be clearly marked Government of Kenya, not for sale. If it was gloves, the packets would be that, and the individual gloves would be marked with the initials GK. Why did the government stop branding its supplies, its stores? And you'll find that these things are supplied. And if you go to county governments, you go where you'll find that there is a data showing that these materials have been procured, they have been supplied from KEMSA, have done what, but they are not in hospitals. Where are they? They are in private pharmacies. So, even these vaccines, I've no doubt that they could have come in and then have gone into the private hands, and so the government mechanisms are not there. I'm sure if you want to vaccinate your child, you go to a private hospital, you will get the vaccines there. But they are not in government.
Absolutely. Yes,
Why are government stores no longer branded?
Senator,
why are they not branded? So that you can know somebody is using a virus.
Hannah interrupting him, he's talking.
Yes?
Continue, Senator, sorry. The speaker was speaking.
We need to agitate that government stores must be branded. The school equipment scheme, you remember it? Why did it collapse? What happened to it? Some of us never had to buy a book.
Your Excellency, in a symbolic display of the interdependence between the legislature and the executive in the management and public affairs, I kindly request that you hand over a copy of the Act to His Excellency the Deputy President,
so this thing of saying that the market
Attorney General for publication into law,
take over this country,
the speakers of both houses of Parliament,
we must restore the primacy of
former Prime Minister,
in the Kenyan space.
The former Vice President,
tax collector. It must be an
as well as
service provider.
To the leadership of both houses from the majority
and
minority parties.
It must provide transport and must provide those essentials. So,
Your Excellency, you'll open.
When the government just becomes tax collector, and where it wants to provide a service, it creates a mechanism for its owners and the leeches to then steal from the public, like the subsidy fertilizer. Look at subsidy programs all over the world in serious countries. Go to India where there are heavy subsidies. India, the subsidies work because they give out vouchers. You don't have to begin importing fertilizer as the government of Kenya and storing it.
Your Excellency, you are most graciously invited to make a few remarks. I thank you, Your Excellency.
Knowing the needs of each farmer and giving the farmer vouchers equivalent to their needs. Then the farmer goes to the ordinary store. If the fertilizer is 7,000, and you have subsidizing it to go for 2,000, you have a voucher of the remaining 5,000. You give the person a voucher of 5,000. You take your fertilizer, you pay the 2,000. The shopkeeper will go to the government and redeem his voucher.
Your Excellency is the former Prime Minister and our former Vice President, all distinguished guests, including honorable speakers. Your Excellency, your assent to the IEBC Amendment Bill, being the first of the National Dialogue Committee report bills, one of the 9 bills, Your Excellency, marks the beginning of a very important process to our country in the reconstitution of a new IEBC Commission. Your Excellency, let me take this opportunity to assure you and the country that all the other 8 bills that emanated from the NADCO report are in process in both houses. We have divided the bills between the 2 houses of Parliament, and I want to give all of you assurances of both houses that we shall expedite in the processing of these bills with top priority. Your Excellency, in conclusion, let me just say that this assent of this bill not only marks a hallmark in our nation's endeavor to reconstitute a new IEBC, but also buttresses the importance of dialogue in our country, because these bills have emanated from a process where we all came together as a country to dialogue, and through dialogue we've been able to surmount most of the challenges that faced our country at the time we came together as NADCO. And I am certain, Your Excellency, even now and moving forward, this signifies that new move that through dialogue we can talk to each other and be able to surmount all the challenges that bedevil our country. With those few remarks, Your Excellency, allow me to invite my co-chair, our former Vice President, who co-chaired with me the NADCO process, to give his brief remarks.
A child cannot be vaccinated at birth. It's a total violation of the rights of the child. The rights of children in the Constitution are also violated. So it's a very, very painful area. And I think maybe that we
Mr. President, the Honorable William Samoei Ruto,
may need to make it a criminal offense.
Prime Minister Raila Odinga, both co-principals of the NADCO process. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't find it easy to come in here this morning for various reasons, one of which was the barricading of the route to KICC. But I must thank the organizers for having brought it to KICC, because if it was a State House, Mr. President, it would even have been a little harder. The reason is simple. Our country is at a crossroads. My colleague, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, has highlighted that both of you asked us to undertake the process of NADCO following the 2023 enactment of the Finance Bill and the riots that took place, where we lost people, 75 of them, property was destroyed, and the country was in a state of a shock. We undertook that responsibility with gusto, and we are very open-minded. As Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, our number one topic was the high cost of living. But Kimani and the team on Kenya Kwanza convinced us that it was the government responsibility, and the opposition had nothing to do with discussing the high cost of living. I hope that in the light of recent developments, my friend Kimani would have revised that thought. Because again, 2024, Finance Act and the riots, and again we have lost 41 young Kenyans. This time they came in the form of Gen Z, but they are Kenyans. They have a right to belong. In fact, they are carrying the national flags. They have done it better than we did when some of us nearly got killed. Mr. President, I want to urge that we look at our country afresh. There's no way we can wish away the Gen Z revolution. And if we were to begin to be honest with ourselves, perhaps we need now to go back to Bomas, because during the presentations, Kimani and Cheruiyot may remember, and Wandai was deputizing me, that a lot of Kenyans wanted us to open this space. The space has been opened by Gen Z. I wish we had moved with speed. It has taken inordinate delay to get to where we are today, to get the first product out of NADCO. And I'm not so sure, my friend Kimani, whether it is expected of us to even fast track the other 8. They have to be juxtaposed by the reality of the country and this new revolt. If we are not careful, all of us will get thrown out by the Gen Zs, because they say we have come of age. You say that we are leaders of tomorrow, we are leaders now. We can't wish them away. Therefore, I want to urge that we now look at the whole thing. For example, we have now set up the process of nominating new commissioners. We made it very clear that both you, Mr. President, and Mr. Raila Odinga, the Prime Minister, will have to agree on perhaps, most importantly, on who becomes the chair of the new IEBC. That principle of consultation was inbuilt, and I thank my colleagues because we didn't have to struggle much to agree. But now is the time. The country is at a crossroads. Can we, for a beginning, even in order to bring the country to normalcy, can you, Mr. President, order the Inspector General of Police? If he doesn't resign, can he remove the police from the streets? Can the army get out of our streets and back to the barracks? Thank you.
Arrant nonsense. The election should have collapsed on the fact of the judges realizing that the election did not meet the threshold. The election had spoiled.
Thank you, Your Excellency, former Vice President. I now have the honor to invite the former Prime Minister, Your Excellency, Honorable Raila Odinga, to give his remarks, and thereafter invite His Excellency the President.
A million vote signatures. A million signatures being verified manually.
Your Excellency,
we'll take the DCI, I think,
my brother, President William Samuel Ruto,
but if they are digital, they'll get
all distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are here this morning.
So the entire architecture of our constitution, even the public,
we have come here today
voters registered
for a very solemn occasion.
People will be able to vote digitally on issues and have referendum almost on everything that we are.
And I'm happy that this function has been arranged to take place here at the KICC.
The Katiba Institute case, the judges have reached themselves.
As my colleague Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka said,
the law, and that one for me,
we are at crossroads as a country.
An appeal will go even further because it seems to have
times like this requires leadership
of Kenya and others.
The country to move forward.
The judges are members of the Law Society. They need to do the pressure courses for judges.
We are doing today is a culmination of a process that began sometime last year.
We are getting judgments that are horrible.
When President Olusegun Obasanjo came
should not become managers,
to
they remain judicial officers. If they want to manage,
and the conflict that was raging on at that time,
then let them do that with the knowledge of the entire law.
When we sat together, myself and
the next thing I want to
Brother William Ruto, that we would follow the route of dialogue. And that is the reason why NADCO was set up.
And the problem has been in the Senate sometimes that we have got things
NADCO then proceeded to dialogue.
There was a time, if I may give an
example,
ended
up with a very voluminous report, which has contained some very fundamental recommendations. This bill that has now been signed into the law today is just one of those.
And it came to the floor of the House.
But the NADCO report contains very many issues which are at the heart of the people of Kenya today.
We had
if you see the issues which are being raised by our youth, most of them are actually contained in the NADCO report. But if this NADCO report is implemented fully, we'll be able to address all those issues which these young people are raising.
Parts of this country,
we
saying no IBC, no reform, no IBC. We
are, as I've said, at a very, very crucial juncture in the history of our country.
Our chairman, I'm a member of the jailer. The chairman
our country
read the document,
has moved
on the floor of the House.
Forward.
No,
there have been highs and lows in our history, 61 years.
During December, we had a special sitting. The Senate was on
we need to move forward.
The IBC bill.
And I want to say,
when we got there,
at this moment in time, my brother, that
because on the other paper,
we require now a wider engagement, that people have an opportunity to vomit
the paper will be tabled.
All that is there in the chest,
debated in the afternoon. The report of the
in order that we can be able to find a way forward.
We weren't prepared, ready to debate.
I therefore want to support the proposal of my brother Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka that we have this conversation. It may not take more than 2 weeks, but it brings all the stakeholders together
in Australia and whatever to inform.
Today, our society
to be able to do
is fairly
a proper
stratified.
Electoral body. Having looked at
Nearly 70% of our population is below the age of
Brazil,
35.
South Africa, and especially the countries that have a presidential system.
If you say that between 35 and 18 constitute about 40%,
Nigeria, Kenya,
we need that 40% to be
Korea,
present when this dialogue is taking place.
So we were able to be, our secretary,
and then the rest can fill the rest.
We were properly informed, and we got.
And then we just talk about the Kenya we want.
That we are going to
the Kenya we want. Convention.
What the National Assembly
out of that will come out recommendations that will help us to resolve this issue once and for all.
And we thought the quorum was confirmed.
That will be my proposal.
The Speaker called on
I think that Kenya deserves better.
The House. What the chairman
issues
is
of employment
is to move
the issues
to read the report,
discrimination,
so that there can be a motion on whether we adopt it or reject it.
The issues of corruption,
our chair
issues
stood up and said,
of gender, and so on, issues that need to be addressed in the wider forum.
It's a property of the Senate. It cannot be voted. It cannot be.
I think that it is possible to do.
Or it's accepted by a vote. So
it is possible if there is a will to do it.
Said the paper is withdrawn.
And then here again, the IEBC is a very important institution.
And they withdraw amendments.
It's not the first time you've had issues with IEBC.
And you saw the violence that came from the Azimio side.
If we find a solution to this issue of IEBC,
and you wonder how a chair, now when you ask the chair,
it will be on the way to resolving very many issues in our country.
It was called and prevailed upon to do that.
You remember
it was wrong to do that. So these are the situations that you find yourself
last
when the
elections,
has been captured. And
the whole world was stunned when we saw an electoral commission that was completely divided.
But after what you guys did,
some saying one thing, others saying one thing.
People have sobered up. If you have been listening to the debate in the Senate,
you may be happy that the others group ruled in my favor. But what example are we showing the world as a country?
We want going forward. We want to know
that in the process of very important exercise,
and how they can be
the commission is divided. Nobody knows whom to believe.
How they can be amended.
Up to today.
So thank you for that.
It's a shame.
In that sense. Now, if you look at the debate in the Senate,
and we're sure that we have got men and women here in this country
July,
who can actually do a better job. And that will help to unify this country.
The conflict of interest bill has got issues, I agree. But
last year, we lost 75 precious lives.
It was
this year we lost another 40 lives. To say nothing about those who have been wounded.
Yes, somehow the Ugandan systems.
We must prevent this from happening in our country. We should not allow this to continue happening cyclically.
And that I used to have it.
Let us find a lasting solution to this problem.
I used to have it in my.
We are ready to engage so that we find a solution to this problem.
Village also. So one time, village is very remote from anywhere else.
With those many remarks, now may I have the pleasure to invite my brother, President William Ruto, to address you. Thank you.
And
I think before I make, just hold on, before I make some remarks, I have listened very carefully to the leaders, as it should be. But let me ask my deputy to make a few remarks so that I can conclude. Mr. Deputy President.
An Airtel number, you don't have a Safaricom number.
Your Excellency, our President, Dr. William Ruto, Your Excellency, the former Prime Minister, Your Excellency, the former Vice President, the leadership of our two houses, members of the executive, and the press, Your Excellency, this is a great morning for this country because the constitution of the IEBC is a great step for our democracy. I want to thank you for the leadership that you have accorded this country. in difficult times,
that was not enough.
And you are acceding to have the report that was bipartisan is a great step in the right direction in this country. In the situation we are in, we want to call upon the people of Kenya that violence begets violence. Now that the president has accepted to have a discussion with our young population, with our leaders, we call upon the people of Kenya to give dialogue a chance, to give consultation a chance, get off the streets, stay away from destruction of property, because Kenya is greater than all of us. And I think, Your Excellency, you have the capacity to lead us in that direction, where there is consultation and all Kenyans are able to agree on the way forward. With those few remarks, it's my duty to ask Your Your Excellency to address the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy President.
And we used to go on bicycles in the morning on Saturday to go and pick letters.
Your Excellencies, Mr. Vice President, former Prime Minister, former Vice President, the two speakers of our National Assembly and Senate, leaders of majority, fellow leaders present here. Welcome to this occasion. The National Dialogue Committee, established last year, resulted from the closing of ranks across the political divide to forge consensus on a number of priority national issues, including the reconstitution of the IEBC. Today's assent of the IEBC Amendment Bill therefore marks a significant step in the actualization of one of the recommendations of NADCO and testifies to our country's ability to navigate difficult, complex, and sometimes divisive issues that could undermine our national cohesion, undermine our stability and security if we leave it unattended. The signing of this bill paves way for the establishment of the selection panel for the appointment of IEBC commissioners. The IEBC remains a cornerstone of our democracy, responsible for overseeing regular elections at various levels, and on the overall ensuring that our electoral cycle is managed transparently and administered in an impartial, neutral, efficient, accurate, and accountable manner. I concur with leaders who have said there must be professionalism and integrity as part of the cardinal principles of the men and women who will be charged with the responsibility of overseeing our elections. The spirit of NADCO is the spirit of unity, bipartisanship, and consensus building, values which have helped our nation overcome its most challenging moments. Even as I assent to this bill, I look forward to supporting and facilitating any other outputs of the national consensus that was NADCO to ensure that Kenya moves forward and with as many hands on deck as is possible. The leadership of Parliament, both on the majority and minority sides, have heard what the leaders here have said, and they should proceed with dispatch and expedite the other recommendations that are contained in the NADCO report and process the necessary bills and interventions that are necessary for us to actualize the output of that report. Beyond NADCO, we are currently engaged in discussions as a country about our economy.
We need to know whether this
As we
is
know,
something that happened.
the country has faced a series
early
of
60s,
economic shocks, including
after
COVID-19 pandemic, globally high interest rates, and
the
devastating droughts and floods, events which have impacted negatively on our economy and our capacity to secure resources for development and to also meet our debt service obligations. In the last 2 years, we have put in our best efforts to mobilize domestic and external resources to accelerate our economic program, pull the country back from the danger of debt distress, and set us on a path of economic transformation. These efforts have strengthened the Kenya shilling, reduced fuel prices at the pump, and lowered the cost of living, including the cost of essential household commodities. This year, my administration presented revenue-raising measures through the Finance Bill 2024, which were aimed at not only consolidating the economic recovery program, but also propelling the country to the next phase of investing in key social and economic infrastructure projects to advance our development agenda and reduce on our debt burden. However, many voices expressed disapproval of these proposals, leading me to drop the bill and terminate the process.
When I spoke to the president in Busia last year,
it therefore means that apart from the people of Kenya asking us to consider alternative means of raising revenue, which I agree with, there is general consensus that the country requires to confront and address long-standing priority national issues, including national debt, public expenditure, and anti-corruption measures, so as to release resources for creating opportunities, creating jobs, and creating wealth. As a way of charting the future from the current situation we are facing, I welcome all the leaders here, and I have heard what they have said this morning, and all other stakeholders working together for us to address the current economic situation through a broad-based political arrangement and to rally the country forward, as has been said by the former Prime Minister. And therefore, we have yet another opportunity as a country, Kenya being the resilient people we always are, to come together and figure out the future of our country in a manner that makes sure that we address the existential challenges and threats that face our nation. And that's the reason why I set up a committee to work and audit our debt,
but as we speak right now,
for us to interrogate our expenditure, and for us to work on anti-corruption. I want to encourage Parliament to expedite the conflict of interest bill that will support our anti-corruption measures, especially in relation to public officers. And I am hopeful that these are some of the conversations that we will be engaged in going forward. I am very confident that, as always, Kenya knows how to pull together, and leaders know how to come together in the best interest, not of individuals, not of parties, but the collective body of the Kenyan people. And I look forward to working with leaders, as I have said, going forward on a broad-based political mechanism that will see us steer the country to the future.
In any effective way.
Thank you very much to all the leaders here, asanteni sana, to the people of Kenya. Wish you well, and God bless our great country.
And how did you account for it? Give me this document. How come this vehicle, which was rejected by your former, which was supplied by people close to yourself, which when brand new at Isuzu Kenya goes only for 5.6 million shillings. And you have paid 13 million in court. You're going to hire to hammer